Good evening, friends, or good morning whenever you're watching this video. This is Tracy Brown, and my team and I of non-diet trauma-informed dietitians provide nutrition counseling so you can feel safer in your own skin. And I apologize to all y'all who've been waiting live for this. I kind of got behind on my schedule today, but I'm so glad to be here with you all. And I'm just going to jump right into it. Is like, you can know based on the way adulthood feels with food. You can know that you've had some struggles with growing up in fear-based environments. Well, I'm not going to say households. I'll just say environments, because sometimes food is relatively, and mentalities are relatively safe with food, but maybe we get it somewhere else, extended family, education environments, wherever we're exposed to like really high level fear and shame-based programming, fear and shame-based, control-based programming around food, health, weight gain, bodies, whatever. All right. So here are some ways that you can know, these are like manifestations of those environments. I'm just going to read, this isn't an exhaustive list. This is just some things that I want you to have some just validation on. It's really important to me that you can feel like this makes sense. Because in our next video, we're going to talk about, okay, what are we going to do to get our agency back, and our internal locus of control back inside. All right. So I'm just going to go through the list here of just a few things I jotted down this morning. I was kind of thinking about y'all today, and, what we need just to make sure that we're feeling like, okay, we this was hard and we can do it. All right. So just basically fear of eating wrong. If you have a sense of fear of eating wrong, you know that you've been exposed to this kind of programming. When you're having incongruent thoughts and guilt and shame about maybe for hours or days about what you ate. Okay. Or what you did to move or not move. Right. If it's really hard for you to take in the big picture health, kind of like, this vision of health, if it's everything hinges on like the meal or snack you just ate, like you've ruined something. If you're feeling that way, you've had a fear and shame based system, in your childhood. Let's see. I'm just trying to go through my list here. Just being programmed to avoid making mistakes. A really low sense or a really dull sense of body awareness. It's almost like you don't really feel like you have a body, and you don't know what feelings you have. Everything is kind of intersecting and misconstrued, or you don't feel much of anything at all. There's low sense of efficacy with having a body, or being scared of your body and your sensations. That can be there too. Maybe there's this level of just again feeling shame for having struggles with your food or your weight. You just kind of keep it all to yourself, because there's an assumption that everybody's thinking the worst about you or judging you all the time. And I'm not saying that we don't have a judgmental and critical culture. We do on some level, but we forget that since so many other people are raised this way too, we forget sometimes that we're not the only ones, and most people are very overly concerned about what other people think of them. So if they do think about you for a second, it's not like a moment of noticing. It's like that's what they're concerned about is you, because that's what we've experienced, right? Fear of being told you're eating too much, or just eating wrong, just doing it wrong. Hiding your body, approval seeking, in general, just pervasive kind of like inherent shame and perfectionism, have a really hard time. Everything's pretty extreme, either, and creating a lot of rationalizations for our behavior around food. A lot of emotional under and overeating, and feeling that that's just the way it is, and that's the only option you have. I'm just thinking, this is not a big, long, exhaustive list, but just really thinking about this level of like, your experiences just aren't valid. What your needs aren't valid. They're too much. They don't matter. They're not going to be heard anyway. So why bother, paying attention? And everything's very mentally driven and hypervigilant. So anyway, those are some of the things that I just kind of see really almost, I won't say stereotypically, but very, 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 very often. And those are common things that people suffer with in adulthood because of fear of food, fear of health, fear of weight gain, all those kind of things. Those high control situations, okay? And so in the next video, we're going to talk a lot about how do we get our agency back. So I want to read a comment here because I'm so grateful. I'm so thrilled that there's somebody here that wants to talk. So Tara says, I'm definitely grown up feeling like I don't have a body or that I'm not a woman because of my weight. Yeah, so like just having this programming based on, arbitrary values of feeling that this is who or what we need to be safe based on what, other people's biases and traumas and all kinds of things. So Tara, I'm so sorry you experienced that. And I want to remind you, as your adult self here in 2023, is that you do have a say now, and that there isn't one acceptable body. Like, you are made with a body, and I know that sometimes we end up having bodies that have been through a lot of stuff, that maybe all the coulda, woulda, shouldas of the things you had to do to survive with food and body to get to this place, to be alive here, to talk to me right now. Maybe your body is maybe your body would have been different, but we are so grateful that we have these bodies that also have other mechanisms to survive, getting through those survival years. And hopefully you're not in those years anymore. And today can be a time of thriving and more internal safety and regulation, and learning to create this relationship within yourself of like, our bodies were wired to be able to be listened to in terms of the physical needs our bodies have for food, rest, sleep, those kind of things. And we can learn to honor that and believe that's important. So Tara, thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing. And I'm hoping you're able to push back against those thoughts and to notice when those thoughts get triggered. There's probably something now that feels really familiar to your body memories from then that's kind of pushing, pulling that up. So that would be some work to do there. But I'm glad that you're here now. Audra's saying, I know there's not one acceptable body, but society doesn't, and that becomes frustrating to deal with. Yeah. There's some stunting. There's some emotional stunting that diet culture creates. And I don't know if that's on purpose, insidiously, or that's just kind of like a nasty side effect of it. But there's some level of the individuation that we're all supposed to grow up through in our adolescent and early adulthood years, is recognizing that like not everybody is always going to be okay with like our personalities, what we look like, what we believe in, and we get to a place in life where we grow up into like, we know who we are, we know who we're made to be, and we own that, and we don't feel offended anymore that people don't like it. We just know who we are, and we accept that. And Audra, I think that diet culture creates this pervasive arrested development in us that makes us believe that like if we don't fully belong with everybody all the time, that we're not safe and okay. And I know because it's like, okay, we grew up with that, and then our adult culture is like that too, so it must be true. And for order for me to be okay, I've got to fit in. And it's like, we're not called. Our life purpose isn't to fit in. Yes, it's nice when we have a safe group of people that get us, to accept us, that we feel like we can belong with and in. But we also have to recognize, and if I don't have that, we can grow up into the place where it's like we have some internal, again, this is that internal locus of control of I can be okay if not. But diet culture, I do see in us, creates this level of getting stuck in that adolescent, early adulthood time where we need everybody to be okay with us for us to feel okay. It keeps us trapped there in time. And so that's what my encouragement is with this video, is to recognize that the stuff creates this, but we can see that, oh, I can individuate past that, where society thinks that my body's too big or squishy or thin or to whatever too much is. Okay, that's a bias, that's an opinion, that's a belief system, that's programming, but I'm doing okay over here, thanks. And it would be easier if everybody was okay with this, totally. But that's not really part of the next level growing up. I think I would say that. So, well, Tara says here, yeah, I thought those feelings were only mine, but nobody else experienced those thoughts or viewpoints. The fact that this may be common, yeah, for people with food issues or binge eating disorders is definitely new to me, eye-opening. It's a part of like the constellation of wounding, of injury to our. It stunts us to be able to like not be able to grow up and individuate into the people we're meant to be, and I think that's the point. Diet culture insidiously is about suppressing people's will by fracturing sense of enoughness and keeping us in this belief system of like, oh, my needs are too much, I'm too much, and keeping us in this kind of internal struggle of like, I'm too much, but I don't get enough. And the food's the red herring. The food is like the faux safety around all that. If I can just suppress my needs, but then I still have this like internal knowing and longing for like to get my needs met so I can settle and move on to my next stage. That's what it keeps us looping, this like developmental stuff. So Tara, you're not alone. It's what diet culture creates. And again, I don't know that what I call the evil experimental developmental scientists who are part of all this, I don't know that they knew that. Maybe they did. If they did, it makes it that's much more sicker. Or if it's like been this like side effect that came from this grand hellish experiment that worked to the definite benefit. I don't know, but we just have to see the function of it and how it works for what it is. Like I kind of like, can you unglue yourself and put your experiences on the screen and be like, oh my goodness, it did do that to me. I'm not crazy. This is what it is meant to do. There you go, Tara. When I talk about in my videos, too much, not enough, it's like we're not getting enough compassionate witnessing, truth, and we feel like our needs are too much all at the same time. It's just this weird conglomeration of like wounding and humiliation and grief and rage and fear all at the same time that the food gets overcoupled with that, and we just stay looped for days, weeks, decades, whatever. And now we're saying like, okay, no, there's got to be another way to grow and get my needs met. It's not through weight loss. It's not through like fixing binges, through dieting. That will never fix it. I don't want to stay on the loop of that. I don't want to stay on the loop of begging for scraps of people's faux approval. That's not real unconditional love and welcoming. That's not real relationship. That's just performance. And I say enough is enough. But we have to recognize like if I grew up this way, how would I know any different? And that's why the point of this video. Right? That's the point of all this, is to like, of course I'm like this. This is how I was trained to be. Whether on purpose or just by ignorance and the people around me not knowing better, because they're in it too. And they don't even know it. All right. So we'll leave it at that today. This isn't one of those blame shame videos. This is like, all right, I need to know. Well, Tara, when you say, I hope I can find that freedom, oh, you 100% can. It's more about like, hey, I'm gonna, the same energy I used to protect myself with all this food stuff, I need to use towards being like really radically, learning how to have radical self-compassion, learning how to be like, you know what? I'm hungry, man. I am hungry for that freedom that I never got a chance to experience. I'm not having it where this is my story. that's kind of it. And getting the right, I mean, I couldn't have done this on my own. I do hope you have some support. If you don't, please reach out. Be happy to help you or steer you in the right direction or whatever that is. But I mean, it's very important to recognize that like food and body image issues are relational issues. This isn't something you can think your way out of. We heal in safe relationships with ourselves, with others, and that's just the way it is. Diet culture is a relational issue. And because that wounding happens from other people towards you, whether it's directly at you, which it sounds like it was for you, Tara. I can't speak for everybody here watching. And sometimes for some of us, it's like, I just grew up in it. So this is how I know how to interact with myself, just by the modeling. Whatever it was, that's relational. And so we have to dismantle the old stuff and install stuff that's really beliefs and actions that really embody our values. Okay. Thank you all for coming so late and waiting on me. I appreciate that. I appreciate I don't take it lightly that people watch these videos and and I hope they bring value to you. So we will talk about, all right, we got some insight here. Insight's not enough to create change. So what are we going to do with that? All right. So I want you to all be thinking today about like, where do I get stuck? It's like, I don't have a body, just chronic perfectionism around food, fear of eating the wrong thing, fear of health stuff. What was your indoctrination? What was your basically programming? And know where that comes from. And it's just more of like, you didn't think of this on your own. That's what's so important about this, to recognize it and to start thinking about, that one thing. Just pick one thing. Don't even have to pick two from this video. Pick one. I talked about 10 different things today. Think about one. And then the next video, which I'll try to give you a sooner heads up when I'm going to be alive, is think about the one thing and how we can unpack that a little bit. Where that comes from and what kind of safety you're going to need to get your needs met. All right. Thank you so much for everybody for coming live today. I'm so glad you're here. And I'll see you in the next one. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.